The headline medical stories that affect you and your family. This is What's Happening in Health.
Morning, everybody, and welcome to What's Happening in Health. We are so grateful you're sharing some of your Sunday morning with us. Got a great 90 minutes ahead of hope and healing. And we do want to begin today with some expansion in our community. You are looking at the next phase of construction for an organization known as Master Provisions. The development manager, John Etchison, and marketing and development director, Courtney Danks, joining us. They will have more on how we can support them through Kentucky Gives Day. So glad to have you here today. And you are also invited to tea this half hour. A wonderful organization called Serenity is hosting a special event. We want to welcome Jonae Ruff Chandler, and I think I said that right. She's here to tell us just how this helps moms and families who have suffered loss. Welcome to you. So glad to have you here today. But first, our top story this half hour is in high-tech health. A treatment called shockwave therapy has given one local musician a lot less pain. Her name is Vicki Mosley, and for years as a double bass player, she struggled with shoulder pain.
I had cortisone shots and PT and all, and it just never really went away.
So recently, she decided on something shocking to help her heal.
After the first treatment, it was amazing.
A therapy that starts with ultrasound to find the proper treatment area.
When patients are done with treatment, they will come off the table and immediately say, oh wow, that feels a lot better.
And then uses focused shock waves.
We are causing tissue healing every single time.
To promote healing. Dr. Kaylin Holmes and Dr. Morgan Venters of Ohio's Christ Hospital Aim for Wellbeing chiropractic team showed me how this therapy
it's really amazing for so many different injuries.
Is based on the same way you break up kidney stones.
After people have had a round of treatments, anywhere between 1 to 6 treatments or so, a lot of times patients will just resolve.
It's sure been life-changing for Vicki Mosley, who's back to playing the double bass again.
We're the heartbeat of an orchestra.
The difference, she says, she's pain-free. Something, after all these years, is shocking, she says, in and of itself. Now, this therapy does cost about $160 a session, and depending on your coverage for chiropractic care, it may or may not be covered by your medical insurance plan. Also today, we want to talk about what we hope you know about your mental health. We do this every week. May, of course, Mental Health Awareness Month, and a new study in the Journal of Psychopathology and Clinical Science shows your personality is linked to your mental health. They found personality traits explain about a quarter of the overall risk of mental health problems, such as depression, anxiety, phobias. Researchers say the findings show that personality is one of the most reliable predictors for the onset and persistence of mental health problems. Now, to find this out, researchers analyzed data from more than 16,000 members of what's called a biobank. It is a collection of health data from volunteers, and they surveyed people's personalities according to the 5 traits that psychologists define as the main dimensions of the human personality. This can mean being an extrovert, your neuroticism, how conscientious you are, how open you are to new experiences, and how agreeable you are. Now, people with a higher general mental health risk tended to have higher neuroticism. They also had a tendency to feel these negative emotions more. They tended to have higher agreeableness, a positive orientation toward other people, as well as a lower conscientiousness and a tendency to be organized and hardworking. Now, part of the reason we're talking about this is that if you've struggled with mental health concerns, such as Kevin Hines did, in spite of any personality trait, all of us are vulnerable to mental health problems. Kevin's an author and a national speaker, and he shared his story recently at the Lindner Center of Hope event here after he tried to take his own life by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge, and he actually survived to talk about it. He says he now does 2 things if those feelings of suicide creep up again.
Every time I have a suicidal inclination or ideal, I find a mirror anywhere. I say my thoughts don't have to become my actions. They can simply be my thoughts. They don't have to own, rule, or define what I do next if they're dangerous to myself or others. And the second thing I do, and the most important thing I do when suicidal, is I turn to anyone willing to listen, and I say 4 simple but very effective words. I need help now.
Powerful stuff. We do remind you that the Lindner Center of Hope has a helpline. It's available around the clock, 513-536-4673. All right, just ahead, some pretty remarkable research on preventing Alzheimer's with movement. And Courtney and John are in-house from Master Provisions. So grateful to have you here. We're going to talk about Kentucky Gives Day on what's happening in health.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Metro and Gastro Health.
Morning once again. In healthy caregiving, there is new research on reducing Alzheimer's risk. New study has found getting more exercise in your 40s, 50s, and 60s can help prevent Alzheimer's disease. Study by the Barcelona Institute for Global Health found as much as 13% of Alzheimer's cases can be attributed to physical inactivity. Health experts say middle-aged adults should be getting 2.5 to 5 hours of moderate physical activity each week. In healthy innovations today, chefs and chemists combine their talents to create an edible robotic wedding cake. A Swiss and Italian team figured out how to use a pump and inflatable channels to make the gummy bears that adorn this cake dance and even hug one another.
And their bodies are made in such a way that they have special cuts and special thickness, so that when the corresponding arteries in the bears are inflated by the heart, the bear will tend to move in desired direction. For example, the necks will move up and down, and the arms will move so that the two bears hug each other.
So in addition to those delightful bears made of gelatin and syrup, candles on the cake light up. And get this, they are powered by chocolate batteries that you can actually eat. The team behind the RoboCake says that the project blends robotics with culinary expertise, and it aims to highlight sustainable solutions for reducing waste and potential applications in health and environmental monitoring. Who knew a dancing cake? Huh? Well, that's a good lead-in for our wonderful team. Good to have you here. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm Courtney Dangs. I'm the Marketing and Development Director over at Master Provisions.
And what is Master Provisions?
Well, Master Provisions, we fight food insecurity in the Cincinnati area. We're based out of Northern Kentucky, but we work with over 220 additional organizations, churches, food pantries, senior centers, schools, all of that to just help attack the food insecurity issues in Cincinnati.
So, forgive me, I thought she was going to answer that question.
No,
sure.
sure.
You are. Didn't think that was a hard one, huh?
John Etchison, I'm donor development, donor manager.
So, we've had the privilege of sharing some of your work over the years, and I know, sadly, the need has really grown for what you do. I don't know who the right person is to tell me about that, but it continues to escalate.
Yeah, so since COVID, it's been a huge increase in the need in greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. And so we have actually, because of our collaborative approach with all of those other nonprofits locally, almost 80,000 people a month are currently receiving food from Master Provisions, but there still just continues to be a gap. So really working hard to make sure that folks are getting nutritious food and knowing where their next meal is going to come from.
So it's just to hear that number. We have a little video of your warehouse, and I know it's kind of hard to explain how you partner and what you do, but what are we seeing here, and what is it? I know this is what you have now. What is it that you kind of do in there?
Yeah, so we have tons of partners, big grocery stores and restaurants, anyone that's a food supplier. And so people get to come in and donate food that is maybe misproduced or overpackaged, misproduced. And so they get an opportunity to come in, and we're a good opportunity to, am I allowed to start over?
No, you could just keep going. We're good with that. So they come to you, but you also go to them.
Yeah, so we actually have refrigerated trucks. We have a whole fleet of trucks that can go and pick up the product. So it's a super tax efficient way for people to go ahead and product that they're not able to use, but that's still great and useful for folks in need. We'll go and bring that back, and we have volunteers process it in the warehouse. So it's ready for folks to come and shop and get it to where it needs to go.
And you don't charge people for these services, do you?
We don't. We do ask our partners for a donation to help offset some of those costs, but really most of those costs are covered by grants and private donors.
So we got to have you talk about this thing called Kentucky Gives Day, which is why you're here. And part of the reason that you're here is that you've had so much need that you're expanding. and we have some pretty cool construction photos. But tell me, kind of what's happening, because, you've gone from this little tiny place and you're going where and what's going on?
So we're moving just a few miles down the road to our new facility on Tobin Drive, and currently it's under construction. But what it's going to give us is a larger footprint, a larger building, warehouse and that, but the warehouse is going to allow us 10 times the storage of pallet space and double the size of our cooler and freezer space. So that's going to allow us to bring more food in, offering our partners just more food in general and a greater variety of food.
So you need a little backup with those construction costs, don't you?
Yes, definitely.
I know God's been good, and you've been sort of able to kind of get funding and whatnot as you need it. But Kentucky Gives Day is coming up. Tell us just what is Kentucky Gives Day?
Yeah. So Kentucky Gives Day, it's actually in its 13th year. And so May 13th is the day, but it's an opportunity for all of Kentucky to kind of come together. We have lots of our friends from across the river get involved as well, but it's to support Kentucky nonprofits specifically. And so it's a really cool opportunity. Typically $1 is going to provide 2 meals at Master Provisions, but because we've got some generous matching donors already, it's actually going to provide 4 meals just for this specific day. So really exciting, just an opportunity to make a bigger impact with your gift. But we are just one of many nonprofits that you can support. So it's a really cool opportunity to have Kentucky come together and make an impact on the causes that matter most to them, all in one big 24-hour day of giving.
She's so politically correct. Like, I know we're not supposed to promote one place over another, and I appreciate that. I love your spirit that we don't. But at the same time, helping you does help a variety of organizations. I think that's what makes you unique.
Yes. Yeah, so we are basically kind of a backbone to food insecurity in Cincinnati because we do work with so many other organizations. They come and they shop with us, and then they take back what they need to their locations. And what it does is it allows them more time to focus on what their core mission is. So they don't have to worry about finding the food and finding grants to buy the food or anything like that.
And you do everything from street ministries to, older adult homes to sobriety houses. You don't think people realize every one of those places has to feed a soul.
Right.
Yes. And as you said, then they can focus on souls and treatment and whatnot. All right, we have a link to you in Kentucky Gives Day at what'shappeninginhealth.com. And it's 24 hours. You can give on, and you have to give on that day, right?
Yes, technically it's open. It's open starting today.
Okay.
But it's really all of the metrics are based on that one single day.
All right, well, go anytime then. And I love that people step up when you get donations and match. It makes a huge difference. Yeah. Thank you mostly just for what you do. It's kind of a quiet business, but we want to say thank you when we can.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, we appreciate you so much. All right, looking forward to seeing that new building all built and beautiful and wonderful. All right, just ahead, she's in need of a living kidney donor, how you can find out more and make a difference. And we will welcome Janae Ruff-Chandler. She is here with a special event called Serenity. The teacups kind of give it away, huh? We're grateful to have her talking to moms who may have suffered loss. Stay with us on What's Happening in Health.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Northern Kentucky Area Development District.
In Waiting for Life today, a local woman had a sudden change in her health, and it led to a life-altering consequence. Her name is Sydney Corey, and she said she went into the doctor's office for some medical tests for another health concern, ended up being told her kidneys were failing. Her only option right now, a living kidney donor. Here's what she told us on a previous health show with her husband Brian and Darcy Gibson of Off the List.
Off the List, we exist to help people like Sydney and Brian and their family, help them get the tools they need to help find living donors to help save a life.
I'm asymptomatic for the most part. I went in for some testing and came back that I had some things wrong. So we checked it out, and it turns out I have a genetic kidney disease that I'm the first in my family to have.
She's the glue that keeps our family together. She keeps everything organized and planned. I'm fairly certain the house would burn down without her.
That's a sweet husband, huh? If you are interested in donating to Sydney, maybe being a living kidney donor, or you want to find out more about testing, contact Brianna Bronson at the Christ Hospital, 513-585-1427. All right, on now to a wonderful organization that we wanted to find a little bit more about called Serenity. Hello to you.
Hi, Liz.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
So my name is Janae Chandler, and I'm the author of Life After Loss, and I create safe spaces for women to heal and have hope who've experienced infant loss, miscarriage, stillbirths, and infertility.
Wow. So I'm guessing that's been part of your own journey?
It has been. So I had 2 successful pregnancies before my husband and I experienced a miscarriage in 2021. So towards the end of COVID. And as I was going through my journey, I really leaned on my faith and began to journal how I was feeling. There weren't really any resources that aligned to my values. And so that eventually became my new book, Life After Loss, 30 Days of Hope for Moms Grieving After Miscarriage. So it's really just designed to provide hope and healing and help moms not to grieve alone.
So was it therapeutic for you to write?
Very therapeutic. I would wake up probably about 4 in the morning and just journal and cry and pray and began to just kind of document my feelings and that grief cycle. And then it dawned on me that other women would likely be experiencing the same thing. We know 1 in 4 women experience infant loss, and so I thought, why not help another mom in need and to break the cycle of silence around this topic. So
yeah, it is sort of like people's, oh, you'll be fine. You know, they don't know what to say, so
right.
I think they say nothing.
Correct, and that can be so damaging because you already feel very isolated, and then when you don't have anyone to where you can feel seen or heard, that can cause even more grief. The silence can just be really deafening. So Life After Loss really aims to normalize conversations around infant loss and then to create safe spaces like Serenity where women can receive hope and healing as they navigate that loss, whether it happened recently or, years ago.
So we love that you're in the show on Mother's Day, and you've got an event coming up after Mother's Day, because whoever thinks about the fact that you might be in this grief process and really need it. We have a beautiful tea set. Thank you for bringing that.
Absolutely.
So tell us what is coming up and kind of a little bit about this event that you're calling
Serenity.
Serenity.
Yes. So as we know, tea can really provide comfort and healing, and you often have conversations over tea. So as we are continuing to normalize these conversations, I thought last year, actually, what if we had a Mother's Day tea for moms who've experienced loss? They are like silent warriors. Usually people think about individuals who've maybe lost a mother or a grandmother, but they don't think about the women suffering in silence who've lost kids or babies that no one maybe ever knew about. And so Serenity really is designed to create that safe space with women who've experienced infant loss or child loss of any age, or moms in waiting, as I like to call women who are experiencing infertility.
So we have a graphic. Let's just tell people what and where, and
Yes.
you kind of like, should I show up with a bunch of people or what should I do?
Yes, so we do recommend purchasing tickets in advance to keep an intimate setting, but it will be on Sunday, May 18th at the Oakley Recreation Center from 3 to 5:15.
What will you do there?
So we will have tea and conversation. I'll be giving an encouraging reflection from my personal journey. We also will have some healing, non-invasive journaling prompts, games. It's really going to be very uplifting. We'll also have a memorial service for your babies or children, or the children that you hope to expand your family with. And so it's really just non-invasive healing time to talk openly about what you may be experiencing. And we'll also have other people, Moray Beauty, Amber Jant, who will be there to share her story with loss as well. So.
Oh, sweet. And as I'm thinking, I'm like, you really kind of want this to be a celebration of togetherness?
Absolutely, a celebration of healing. Obviously, there will be shared experiences in the room, but we're really creating an uplifting environment. So no matter how you may be feeling, we want you to be in the room. And we're actually offering a special promotion for your viewers. So
she said you can get 10% off tickets
Yes.
if you're watching us today. But
Yes.
we're just grateful that you're creating the conversation in the space. We have a little video because one of the things that I noticed is even when we were searching for what video do you put with this, who do you talk to, we know that the likely person would be your healthcare provider, but we're also told that they're not necessarily equipped to talk about things like that.
So there's more health systems that really are doing the training to help moms through their grief journey. Research tells us that 59% of women experience delayed grieving, and which was my case, Liz. So a lot of times your healthcare provider knows to share with you what's happening, right, physically, but then there really is a need for long-term care and support, which is why Life After Loss exists. To really help moms through that grief journey. For me, I grieved 9 months later. So it really is important to keep having conversations and really surrounding women with hope and healing.
Interesting, 9 months later.
9 months later.
Yeah, who thinks about that? Well, we are really grateful that you're just starting to talk about this. And if you will take some photos and interact with people, maybe someone that comes would come back with you and share this journey. I feel like the way you do that is you start meeting each other.
Absolutely.
And realizing what we need to share.
Absolutely.
And until you go through whatever the experience is, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, you do not know.
It's true. Yeah. And we know that there's other organizations that are doing this work too, so we're very open to conversations with them. And
well, a lot of them do it, like you said, in the medical setting and things like that, but this is the first time I've said, wow, these people are going to get together and just have a really great celebration
like girl chat
of what it is that we know that sadly no one else does. And welcome to the exclusive club you didn't want to be in.
Correct.
And yet I'm grateful that you're there to lead the club.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, really sweet. Okay, we will put all of this information that she mentioned at what'shappeninginhealth.com. You can go there, link, sign up, just leave a message, whatever you want to do. Serenity. Thank you, Janae. Great to talk to you.
Absolutely.
All right, another step toward a universal flu vaccine. We're going to share new research in legal medicine. I want to leave you with a couple headlines. In legal medicine, the Department of Health and Human Services investing $500 million in hopes of creating a universal flu vaccine. The project hopes to develop a shot that can protect against multiple virus strains, including bird flu. Researchers are using older technology that delivers an entire virus that's been chemically tweaked so it cannot infect human cells. This type of vaccine tends to create long-lasting protection by giving the body a chance to develop antibodies to many parts of a virus. However, the U.S. previously had moved away from this technique because it can have adverse side effects. HHS says that human clinical trials could start as early as next year. And finally, this half hour, healthy diversity. Hearing loss can affect some communities more than others. Research published in JAMA shows that rates of hearing loss are highest among white men and lowest among black women. Doctors say they're not sure why, but there is a disparity, and they hypothesize it may be genetic. All right, just ahead, a local organization supports parents struggling with infertility. Inspiration from their own journey in our next half hour on What's Happening in Health.
The headline medical stories that affect you and your family. This is What's Happening in Health, sponsored by Mayfield Braden Spine.
Morning, everybody, and welcome back to our second half hour here on What's Happening in Health. Happy Mother's Day. Have a great second half hour for you if you're watching with your mom or anyone else. TriHealth's Good Samaritan College of Nursing and Health Sciences is just started their next semester, and we are so excited to have in-house to celebrate National Nurses Week, which we've just been through. Dr. Sherry Joyce is here. She is the Dean of Nursing there. So grateful to have you here today to tell us more about the future nurses of tomorrow. And we are about to move into those summer months, which means the need for blood in our community is is on the rise. From Hawksworth Blood Centers, we want to welcome Dr. Carolyn Alquist and donor Dick Manukian. We are so glad to have you both here. We'll have more from them in just a moment. But first, we do want to begin this half hour with a quick headline for you. This is the Mayfield Brain and Spine Physical Therapy team working with Dave. He had a fusion in his neck area. And anytime you have a fusion in the spine, you may need exercises like the kind he's doing here to avoid what is called adjacent segment disease.
So adjacent segment disease is when people have lumbar fusions, they stop moving at the level that they have fused. So adjacent segment disease is when you move a little bit more above and a little bit more below. So what that does is it puts those levels at further risk of degeneration.
Mayfield Brain and Spine now studying this adjacent segment disease. They want to reduce complications from it, and you can find out more from their physical therapy team at 513-221-1100. And now to healthy conditions, as we call it. A local man named Keith Neer said for years it's been tough to get a good night's sleep due to a condition he had called benign prostate hyperplasia, or BPH.
I was having more trouble all the time going to the bathroom.
So in desperation, he reached out to some of the surgery team here at Ohio's urology group.
I was in denial for a while, thinking it would get better by itself, but it doesn't.
Dr. Brooke Edwards and Dr. Van Young are among the first in the nation now offering patients with this enlarged prostate condition a breakthrough procedure. It cuts off the blood supply to it. It is called PAE, which stands for prostate artery embolization.
We are able to make a small puncture opening into a vessel or artery in the thigh, and then pass a small tube up into the vessels that feed the blood flow to the prostate. They are able to drop off some small particles or beads that then stop the blood flow.
As Dr. Young showed me, the dark picture is before the beads stop the blood flow. Once these tiny particles like these are injected in,
this branches, so they'll just go everywhere in here, so it's thousands of them.
You can see the blood flow has stopped. It shrinks the prostate pretty quickly.
And that shrinking process actually allows that urine flow to increase and resolve those symptoms.
Dr. Young says so far the long-term results are promising.
Clinical success rate is above 90, it's in the 90 to 95% range, and then long-term success at 5 years, about 80% of men still have success.
For Keith, it's made such a difference. He's back to getting a good night's sleep and back to a lot of other projects such as woodworking that he loves.
Half of us in this world have prostates, and more than half of those are going to have trouble going to the bathroom sometime in their life. Maybe we ought to talk about it.
Love brave souls like that, don't you? In most cases, this procedure is covered by your medical insurance plan, but you may need prior authorization. All right, also topping this half hour, your healthy rights. Go ahead and take that vacation time, whether it's close to home or the trip to Disney World. You've earned those days off from work, and something kind of unhealthy may be getting in the way of you taking that time. It's known as holiday hoarding, and it is a growing trend in employee benefits. It's where employees don't take time off and they accumulate that time due to pressure or fear of falling behind. This can lead to burnout and decreased productivity, according to Kick Resume. To counter this, it suggested companies streamline PTO requests and foster a culture that does encourage people to take time off. All right, and from Disney World, we're going to Kings Island coming up next. You also may want to protect your hearing as we head out to places like these this summer. We'll tell you why in Listen to This. And our donor, our Dr. Sherry Joyce, we should say, is the Dean of Nursing at the Good Samaritan College of Nursing. And she is here to tell us about celebrating National Nurses Week. We're so glad to have her in-house. Stay with us for what's happening in health.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Life Enriching Communities, NKADD, Hawksworth, and Aptiva Health.
And listen to this, no matter where you plan to spend part of your summer, audiologists remind us it's a noisy season. Dr. Matthew Kiss says if you go to an amusement park or a concert, maybe at Kings Island, or even to a restaurant, bring earplugs or sit away from speakers. And here is why.
I've seen studies for people that work at loud restaurants or busy bars for 8 or 10-hour shifts. That can be damaging. Just be aware of how loud things are, and if you feel like you become a little bit disoriented at the end of a shift like that, you may want to have someone do a professional reading on the sound level just to see if there's anything that can be done about the sound.
If you'd like to learn more about resources to protect your hearing, you can call Lund Hearing 859-342-5846. All right, on now to a wonderful segment here we call Your Healthy Future, and we know who to talk to for National Nurses Week. Hello to you. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Sherry Joyce. I am the Dean of Nursing at the Good Sam College of Nursing and Health Science. I've been a nurse with TriHealth for 38 years. I've been at the college since 2021, and I've been the dean a couple years now.
So we are always honored to have you here. I know this is your passion, and this past week we got to head into the Good Samaritan College of Nursing and Health Sciences. And I love that because you do more than nursing. You do MA work and things like that, which is exciting. But we found that the future is in good hands. Watch this. Inside this Good Samaritan School of Nursing and Health Sciences lab.
My dad passed away from cancer, and I'd always wanted to be in healthcare.
Students such as Emily Bober are passionate about the care they will provide as the nurses of tomorrow.
I wanted to give back and be able to provide care for other patients and other family members.
They not only learn the clinical skills here for critical care, they learn the life skills to help patients take it one day at a time.
Coming back to school and becoming a nurse, it's incredible. It changes your perspective on how to treat people and how to care for others.
This simulation lab, as it's known, is kind of a refresher for many of these students.
We're trying to help bridge that gap between theory to practice.
Sherilyn Tarter has been an instructor for 2 decades. She says she hopes students will feel what she does about nursing every day.
I guess a sense of responsibility, accountability, and the love of taking care of their patients.
It's pretty clear many of the students here do love this profession and what they can bring to others' lives.
Serving others, to me, is key to my life. I enjoy serving others, and there's plenty of opportunities in being at Good Samaritan College, working with TriHealth one-on-one. It's been an incredible experience.
So it was so fun for us to be in there and see their passion. And my understanding is you can sort of teach the skills, but that passion is something that you hope they just sort of bring to the work, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's great to have them in the lab because they're with instructors, they're being mentored, they're being coached on professionalism, communication, before it's a real conversation and a real patient.
It was just very interesting because a lot of them do have really personal stories that inspired that, and that makes just a wonderful healthcare worker. So tell me a little bit about the college. Who do you serve? How do you serve them? How big is it? That kind of thing.
It's big. We have doubled enrollment. We have like 700 students.
Wow.
When I came in 2021, we had half that. So we've doubled enrollment. We've added a lot of new faculty, and it's a really great team that I've built. And all the support team as well, because there's a dean of allied health, we have an enrollment team, so it's a lot bigger than people think. It's not just nursing, we have rad tech, surge tech, but it's MAs, a lot of programs there, but we all work together. And what's great about it is students, if one thing is not their fit, we have other programs for them to look at as well. But the nursing program has really come a long way. I'm a graduate of the college. I've been there a long time. I have great relationships with the hospitals and TriHealth because I was in management and leadership in the hospitals, and now I'm a dean at the college. So we've done a lot of connecting, collaboration. We're getting our future nurses. We're trying to keep all of them in our system because our students are really recognized for that professionalism, that communication, that critical thinking that we develop. And there are future nurses that are going to take care of us, so that's important.
So we've had a real shortage of nurses, so it's nice to hear your growth. We have a little video of kind of that lab and what you do there. Do you attribute the growth to the expansion of other programs, or have you seen the growth in nursing?
We've seen the growth in nursing, absolutely. They love the hospital-based because we have priority on clinical sites. They love the strength in clinical and in critical thinking that the nurses that we are developing. So we get a lot of compliments from the nurses saying, wow, these Good Sam students, they're really, really strong. So I believe the growth is due to references from others that have gone there, the clinical hospital-based setting, and just the reputation.
It's wonderful to hear that, and for people not familiar, what you're saying is if they work there, then the TriHealth hospitals often will have jobs ready for them, or they train in there. But what was interesting to me is that after COVID, there was a big concern that we wouldn't see people coming to the profession. So how have you sort of overcome that?
We really have. I've heard a lot of nurses that have come out of retirement, ready to come back. They got burned out at the bedside, they left, and they thought this was a great way to get back into nursing, which is great because there is educator shortage as well.
I think that's the thing that people, and your students did reiterate this, they said there's so many different areas now that as a nurse you can participate in. So do you encourage that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I believe people are coming back to the bedside, and if they're not, they're finding that fit. Where in healthcare can I go and come back? So we're happy to have some people come back that left. We're also trying to retain the students that we are in the school to keep them in TriHealth. We actually have somebody from TriHealth, from HR, in the college to help them find the right fit for wherever they want to work when they graduate.
That's so important. I want to give you the final word this National Nurses Week. What would you like to say to your wonderful team members and so many that you've trained?
I want to thank everyone. It's very proud. Every graduation, it's just so awesome to just see how we've contributed to the nursing career workforce, and we're having nurses that are compassionate, that listen, that care, and building that workforce back up.
Yeah, we're so grateful to have you here in our community. It's been nice to just work with your team and see how you've grown. Come back soon, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, good to have you. I know you're so busy that I always feel like we're taking you right away from all this big need, but it's just so fun to have you in-house.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to have you here. All right, just ahead, overweight teens and a new study on those injectable weight loss medications. We're going to share new research on benefit versus risk. And our Hawksworth team is in the house. Dr. Carolyn Ahlquist sharing how we can support the summer need, and Dick, our donor. So glad to have you here. We'll have a great conversation with them coming up on what's happening in health.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Miami University, the Vein Center of Cincinnati, and Lindner Center of Hope.
In Wait No More today, new study shows it's not just adults that may benefit from taking those new injectable weight loss drugs such as Ozempic and Wegovy. GLP-1s may reduce type 2 diabetes risk in adolescents with obesity as well. Research presented at the Pediatric Academic Society's 2025 meeting found that adolescents with obesity taking these GLP-1 receptor agonists were 31% less likely to develop type 2 diabetes compared to those on some of the older medications. The risk of type 2 diabetes is 4 times greater for children with obesity than for those with normal body mass index. All right, on now to our donor of the week, and we get so excited when we have one in-house. Tell us who you are.
I'm Dick Manukian, and I've been in Cincinnati for a while, 37 years, and I've been a Hawksworth donor for 37 years.
Oh, God bless you. What do donors like that mean to you? And remind us of your title.
Sure. My name's Dr. Caroline Ahlquist, and I'm a director of Hawksworth Blood Center. Dick's a 75-gallon donor, so we're just so appreciative of those that support our community. All the blood donated in Cincinnati stays in our region, and it's pretty amazing to see someone who's part of the community giving back.
Okay, so for those of us with no perspective, we have a little video. What makes a gallon? Because you're like 75 gallons. There's a lot. Sounds like a lot. Sounds like you shouldn't even be able to stand up.
He's been donating for quite some time. When was your first year?
1963.
Wow.
So I've been doing it for, 62 years. Obviously not all here, but I started out in Columbus when I realized, I had a part-time job I was at Ohio State University, and I had a job at the Red Cross Blood Center as a night shipping custodian. Oh. And I realized then what the need was, especially on long weekends where, traffic accidents put a demand on whole blood products. So, and now the need is so great for, preventative as well as cancer stuff, research. So I'm a platelet donor now, so I can give more than more frequently than whole blood donors. I don't give red blood cells.
What a wonderful informed donor that understands that. So, okay, so a gallon would that be like every time you donate? How long does it take to accumulate a gallon?
So it depends on your blood type or on your blood donation. If you're donating whole bloods, it's essentially a pint. Platelets are measured a little bit differently, but an apheresis platelet is generally more than what you donate in a whole blood donation. So many donations to get to a gallon, very dependent on if we're collecting plasma, platelets, or red cells. But the number's always a little different. But we're looking at probably 4 donations minimum to get to that gallon.
Wow, so you have really made a difference in people's lives. What do platelets do? What are those?
Platelets are these little tiny cells that are in your body, and they help plug small bleeds. So they're really important to stop bleeding in your gastrointestinal system, in your stomach, in your gums, in your mouth, in your bladder. These are places that really bleeding we see in those with cancer. Especially after bone marrow transplant, when people aren't making enough cells on their own, we are transfusing platelets to help plug those small bleeds. Additionally, if you're in a traumatic situation and you lose all of your cells, your plasma, your red cells, and your platelets are an important component of the resuscitation algorithm. So we are going to be going units of platelets with units of red cells with units of plasma to reconstitute your whole blood that you've lost.
Well, you are just quite the lifesaver, my friend.
Well, I've been blessed. I've been healthy, and it's kind of a spiritual thing when you're lying on the couch and you're bleeding, and you know that product is going to go to somebody who really needs it to save their life, possibly.
Yeah. You know what? Good for you. I call it just the lazy way to volunteer, because you can only give whole blood at least like once every 8 weeks, and it only takes about 45 minutes. So, hey, I volunteer, and I love that. I love that you do it regularly. All right, we have a couple things to talk about. We have a few things you're giving away that are related to FC this month. You got a big drive coming up in that. So that's the sweatshirt. You often will just say thank you and give donors something to say thank you.
Yeah, our teams do such a great job with our marketing options. We are so excited to release this FCC jacket. It's a quarter zip. It is very attractive, and we expect that there will be a run on these. We're excited for the opportunity to support our local team, and I believe Dick's even working at this upcoming drive.
I will be. I'll be behind the scenes with our donors, giving them support equipment.
Oh, that's nice, because then you can answer their questions and whatnot. And so we have the drive at TQL Stadium coming up, and that is a real necessary thing. If you can make an appointment for that day, they'd love to have you there. That's coming up on May the 20th. And you go right to the stadium, right? You have everything all set up. Is that kind of how it works?
That's how it works. It's really a great time to get a sneak peek at what the field looks like and get familiar with what an amazing stadium it is.
All right, so my last couple questions. Why do you feel, like you said, the spiritual experience, why do you feel so good when you give?
Well, you're doing something that you can do for somebody who needs what you can do, and it's just very fulfilling. So I've been doing it every 2 weeks. I'm allowed to give 24 times a year, and it takes me about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, and it's well worth it to do that. And the platelets are, not everybody gets platelets. It only takes 20 minutes to go in there and bleed a pint of whole blood, which is absolutely necessary. But my whole blood is broken down into the components, and I get my red cells back. That's why I can give more frequently, because the red cells are the ones that are the hardest, takes the longest to reproduce.
Well, you are a wonderful advocate. It's a pleasure to honor you. We want to make sure we put up a phone number. You can either go online and register for an appointment at any neighborhood blood center. You can call this number. And one of your team members said this is the only product where we can't make it any other way without him. There's no other substitute without a human.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
So grateful
right.
to have you guys here. We love bragging on you, and thank you mostly just for making a difference.
Oh, I'm trying.
You're doing a good job too. All right, coming up next, a new study which looks at where you live and cancer survival. We'll tell you what you need to know and Healthy on the Go. And from UC Health, we want to welcome a unique program for nurses. We have some wonderful team members here who are supporting National Nurses Week. Jen Jackson is here, Alicia Rebar, and we're going to meet them coming up on what's happening in health.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Network for Hope, William E. Hesh Law, and Serene Sweets.
In Healthy on the Go today, we remind you that Metro has a new program which is on demand for everything from grocery store trips to doctor's office visits. This service is just in a few neighborhoods right now: Sharonville, Springdale, Northgate, Mount Healthy. You schedule through an app. It's called Metro Now, and it'll take you a short distance within one neighborhood, but it may be a service more critical than we realize, and here is why. New study shows your survival rate from cancer could partly depend on where you live. Study published in JAMA shows that states that collect more tax revenue have lower cancer death rates, and the reasons could be that you have greater access to cancer screenings, and tax policies reduce healthcare disparities between the rich and the poor. Much of this can have to do with your transportation and your ability to get where you need to go for medical care, and it is one of the reasons Metro Now is expanding.
In early June, we are going to expand into the Forest Park area, so all across that northern area where there's larger populations that maybe our current service isn't serving quite as well. We are able to utilize Metro Now for that.
Trips can be scheduled through the Metro Now app or by calling 513-551-5555 within those neighborhoods. All right, just ahead, a group that supports families struggling with infertility. They now have beautiful twins, but from Parental Hope. We want to introduce you to David and Jennifer Bross. There we go. They are coming up in our next half hour, how we can all support them and what's happening in health.
The headline medical stories that affect you and your family. This is What's Happening in Health, sponsored by TriHealth.
Welcome back, everybody, to our third half hour here on What's Happening in Health. Happy Mother's Day once again. We are continuing to honor nurses this National Nurse Week. And we have a team in-house today that has their own coffee blend. Here to tell us all about it, we want to welcome Jen Jackson. She's the Chief Nursing Officer of UC Health's Westchester location. And Alicia Rebar, she is the Dean of the UC College of Nursing. We are so grateful to have you here today. Can't wait to talk more about what you do, the most important thing, and coffee, what we all love here. So glad to have you guys. And a local family changing the lives of others after their own struggle with infertility. From Parental Hope, we want to welcome David and Jennifer Bross. They are the co-founders of this organization. They have quite a story to tell, and they're going to let us know what we can all do to support them. But we do want to begin this half hour with a quick headline on mental health awareness. You know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and just recently Susan, who you see here, met with Dr. Betsy Leroy of TriHealth's Women's Services. Susan thought she was having mood and anxiety changes and that they were linked to her mental health, when really it was all hormone related. Dr. Leroy reminds us to find a good care provider that listens to you if you think this is happening, so you get the right treatment.
So by really sitting down and talking with Susan, going over what her goals were for the second half of her life and seeing where she was and where she thought she could and should be, we were able to come up with a really individualized plan.
TriHealth Women's Services team has several specialists now that focus on menopause care. You can find them at 513-246-2496. On now to our top story this half hour, food as medicine. Hundreds of people from all over the country are coming to Cincinnati this week for a special conference. It is called Nourishing Change. It's all part of a growing trend where good health starts with a trip to your local grocery store. Mary Kate Tompkins did that recently. She'd been seeing a fertility specialist to grow her family and decided,
I'm a big believer in food as medicine for preventing chronic diseases, things like that. But I wanted to see what else can I do on top of what I'm already doing with IVF to boost my chances as I was going through this process.
So healthcare providers at Ohio's Little Clinics referred her to one of the people here who knows what's good to eat, a Kroger Health registered dietitian.
She was a wealth of information. She also connected me with resources that I could follow up and read outside of the clinic. So I loved that. And yeah, she was just really helpful.
And that's exactly the trend of the future, James Kirby, Kroger Health's Chief Commercial Officer, told me. Easy access to what families need to stay well where they need it. It would provide
real change that needs to happen in our healthcare system that focuses on the patient and focuses on everything that person may need, from traditional medical care all the way to diet, lifestyle, exercise, nutrition, all of those things.
James says his team is so passionate about helping families such as Mary Kate's, they're hosting a national conference this month called Nourishing Change. The goal?
To talk about the real issues that are facing our country and our healthcare system.
You see, the hope is to have outcomes that, as Mary Kate now knows, change lives.
I'm happy to say that I'm now pregnant. I've made it to my second trimester.
Her baby boy due in October.
We are so happy for you. The Kroger Conference Nourishing Change is at the Hard Rock Casino. It does begin this week on the 13th. There is a cost to attend, but we have more information inside the digital version of this story. Look under what's happening in health.com. All right, we want to turn now to our Ask a Nurse. We ask, have you done any planning for the second half of your life? It is estimated 2 in 3 of us will need long-term care, and a new poll finds almost half of us put off thinking about it. We also think it's unlikely we'll need that care. Researchers say this is concerning, given that we are all living longer.
Well, we never know what's going to happen in the future. While we understand that we have some diseases, or we know that there are some needs that can be planned for the future, we are never free from a health crisis that can occur in any minute. And we really want to know that you have given express your desire, your wishes to someone who can help make those decisions if you are no longer able to make them in the future.
Less than 1 in 4 of us say we do have a person who could be our future caretaker. All right, just ahead, the top nutrients needed to stay forever young. We're going to talk with a team who cooks up good health in aging gracefully. And the team from UC Health here today. Morning Grounds is what they call their wonderful special blend. We're going to celebrate nurses with Jen and Alicia. Stay with us on what's happening in health.
This portion is sponsored by Good Samaritan College of Nursing and Health Science and the Mental Health Recovery Board of Warren and Clinton Counties.
In Aging Gracefully, a few additions to your menu could help you eat well at any age. The team at Life Enriching Community recently cooked up this meal with salmon for good fats and protein, as well as some great grains of couscous and hummus. We talked with Maddie, their registered dietitian, about what's recommended for good health as we age.
So I always tell our residents to eat the rainbow, to eat a variety of colors of fruits and vegetables, and making at least half their plate fruit or vegetables. And then protein. When you get into this population of people, protein will help maintain the muscle mass that they have. If they're working out at our connection, the protein will help them gain or build muscle if that's their goal. But holding on to that independence as long as they can.
To summarize, her recommendations include protein and fiber, vitamins B12, D, and E, calcium and magnesium, as well as potassium. Those are some of Maddie's top picks for eating well at any age. And if you'd like to learn more about their programs, they have several cooking programs you can attend, whether you live there or not. 877-532-1899. All right, well, as you know, we are celebrating nurses this week, and we are so glad to have some friends in-house. We've met you before, but remind us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm Jen Jackson. I'm the Chief Nursing Officer for UC Health, our Westchester campus.
And you brought friends.
I did.
New friends.
I did.
I'm Dr. Alicia Rebar. I'm the Dean of the College of Nursing at the University of Cincinnati.
So you are newer to that role.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your background, where you came from, that kind of thing.
Well, being that this is Nurses Week, I was reflecting that I've been a nurse for 34 years now. And I most recently came from the University of South Carolina. And my most recent background is that I was a family nurse practitioner in addition to being a bedside nurse.
But you like us better, huh?
I do.
It's a great place, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's wonderful to have you here. I know they were anticipating you last year with our Nurses Awards and whatnot, so it's thrilling to meet you. And I'm so excited that you were talking about one of my favorite subjects. Jen, what's Cincy Grinds?
Cincy Grinds is a product that Morning Rounds Coffee in a partnership with the College of Nursing and UC Health, where we created a coffee to support future nursing students.
I love that. So we can go online. I looked it up, buy the coffee. This is after they said, hey, you should talk about morning grounds. And I thought that was like a nurses group that got together really early in the morning and drank coffee, which wouldn't be a bad idea.
Right, no. And they probably exist.
I know. But I was like, the coffee. So how we can raise money like this, and then how do you use the money, or how do we get involved, or what do we do?
Yeah, so what's really cool is that anybody who loves coffee can just go online to Morning Rounds Coffee or go to one of our gift shops on the UC Health campus. They can buy a bag, and when they purchase the bag, a portion of the proceeds come back to the College of Nursing through scholarship funds. And so we're able to really support the next generation of healthcare workers. And this organization was created by healthcare providers to give back to healthcare providers. And I think it's just a really cool mission. And if you love to drink coffee, then it's an easy sell. And if you love UC or you're a Bearcat fan, Cincy Grinds is the way to go.
So is it like a robust, I'm a coffee snob, I must admit.
Yeah.
So is it like a robust, is it a medium ground? Tell us a little bit about that.
So it's a medium round. Okay. So it's kind of right there in the middle. So for those who are like the lighter side, or those who may be a little bit darker but don't quite want to go all the way with that rich flavor, it's kind of right there in the middle. I call it kind of your morning breakfast. You can sip on it for a little while. You can make a whole pot of it.
You're going to have to start expanding though, so that you have all the pallets pretty soon. Grow that. So we have just a little video. Are you not amazed at the ingenuity in this wonderful college?
Yes,
Tell me a little bit about just, I know you're expanding things and working on that, but just the ways that you're now sort of putting our wonderful nurses program out there.
Right. Well, most recently we, in anticipation of the workforce shortage that all nurses are going to experience, the College of Nursing has increased enrollment this year in anticipation of that workforce shortage. And so in the fall of 2025, our college will be inviting about 125 more nurses to join our undergraduate class. So we're very excited about that. The biggest class we've ever had at the University of Cincinnati, and we are so excited to be able to provide them the educational support that they need. And Cincy Grounds is one way that we can do that. About 75% of our students actually show some type of financial need when they come to school, and so them having access to other funds to help them complete their education so that when they enter the workforce they're not in debt is one of the goals that we have at the college.
So it's interesting to me that you're opening up more availability, and there for a while people wanted to get into nursing school and there simply weren't enough instructors and it wasn't available. So was that sort of all part of the mission?
Right, absolutely. The advantage that we have at the University of Cincinnati is that we have both undergraduate and graduate education, so we can educate our own instructors, we can educate our own faculty, and because it is such a great place to work, lots of people want to stay there and help to kind of bring forward that next generation of nurses.
All right, we got to let you guys do a shout out. We'll put a link to your coffee, how we can buy it, what we can do, but to the nurses in Nurses Week, you say what today?
Thank you for everything that you do, and we so appreciate particularly my faculty and staff within my college that are doing all the great work every single day.
Yeah, when you knew you have this learning curve, so you really appreciate all the support. Yes. And Jen, it has been a pleasure to see your work and your research, and I mean, she's an outstanding human, set aside the nurses thing, but you've just done incredible things. So thank you for what you've done. To all the people that are hanging out, lifting you up, what would you like to say?
You know what? Happy Nurses Week and Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, we couldn't have actually had that coincide on a better week.
I agree.
A lot of people are making sacrifices for families, and we're grateful to have you guys here today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. All right, just ahead, what skin cancer looks like. It's Melanoma Awareness Month as well. We're going to share what you need to know to protect against it and look good, feel better. And the team from Parental Hope joining us. They help couples who struggle with infertility. David and Jennifer are here. So glad to have you here. We'll talk to them coming up on what's happening in health.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Northern Kentucky Audiology, the Center for Closing the Health Gap, and Journey Light.
In Look Good, Feel Better today, May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month, and experts from the Advanced Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center say now is the time to get your skin checked out if you haven't done that in a while. With the seasonal change and more of us spending time outdoors, it's important to remember that sun exposure can bring hidden skin lesions. On the surface, they may look like some of these. One common type is a keratosis that you're seeing here, and it can look harmless, but it can really turn into a skin cancer if left untreated. Experts say to protect your skin with SPF 30 or higher, wear wide-brimmed hats, schedule yearly checkups, and know your risk. All right, on now to a wonderful family in our community that is changing lives. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure, I'm Jennifer Bross. I am co-founder and president of Parental Hope.
And I'm David Bross, co-founder and vice president of Parental Hope.
All right, so we've had the privilege of kind of following your journey a little bit, but what is Parental Hope?
Parental Hope is a local nonprofit. Our mission is to raise awareness about infertility-related issues, but also to provide emotional and financial support to couples battling infertility.
And I know recently you had a wonderful gala, so we want to, even though this is a little out of date, we want to back up a second and just share this with people because what you are doing to support other couples is really amazing. And this, of course, after their own struggle with infertility, Jennifer and David recently launched something that would really help other couples. You see, after it took years for them to celebrate the sounds and the sights of having a baby, 10 years ago they had twins with the help of in vitro fertilization.
It's an emotional roller coaster. You know, you go into it and you think, okay, I've got this opportunity, you have all this hope, but what you don't realize is that IVF really only has about a 40% success rate.
That means you often need multiple treatments, which in the case of their twins meant at least 3 cycles at about $15,000 each. Jennifer told me today, as a result of that, you often feel
like there's something wrong with you, and because it has to do with our reproductive system, it's like we're embarrassed to talk about it, and we shouldn't talk about it in society.
So in honor of their 10-year-old twins, they aren't just talking about infertility, they are doing something about it. This weekend, they are hosting a 10th anniversary event for Parental Hope called Decade of Hope.
It's going to be a fun event, but the big thing is we're going to give out grants to couples that are at the event.
Those grants of thousands of dollars each will cover the full cost of helping those couples have a baby through in vitro fertilization. You see, David and Jennifer say they want to pay the gift of parenthood forward because every day when they look at their own twins,
it makes me, I'm emotional, obviously, but it reminds me of just don't take any day for granted. Don't take parenthood for granted because it almost didn't happen for us.
So we brought you back because you're continuing the fundraising efforts for these. You don't charge couples for all that, but tell me about the gala. You were able to give away grants?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was amazing. So we had 10 couples there that are currently in the battle, and we were able to give every single one of them a grant that covers the full cost of IVF treatment.
Wow, at $15,000 each. Were they just stunned?
Yeah, stunned might be an understatement. Yeah.
We typically only can give 2 to 3 grants at our annual fundraising event, and so we thought that it was what better way to celebrate 10 years and a decade of hope than to give away 10 grants to each one of those couples.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Because those costs. So like if you don't have it covered by insurance, you're sort of caught.
Yeah.
So part of the way you're able to fund those is through other fundraisers. So you have a golf tournament coming up. That's why we have you here. Let's put up that graphic. But let's talk a little bit about how we can join, what you do, that kind of thing. It's called Swing for Hope, which I love.
Yeah. Swing for Hope is our annual golf outing. I think this is the fourth year we've been doing that. Mm-hmm. We normally get about 100 golfers out. We'd love to have more, plenty of space. But it's on Saturday, May 31st. It's 8 a.m., a shotgun start at Kent County Golf Course.
So you raise this money in kind of events like this throughout the year, and then you provide the grants. But really, I think what this tells people is that you're in the journey with them?
Yeah, that they're not alone. We're more than just a financial support organization. As David mentioned earlier, we bring awareness and we also bring that component of hope.
in addition to that financial burden being lifted, so the couple can just focus on the roller coaster of IVF.
Yeah, and we've got, I think we're up to 115 total grants over our 10-year period that we've been able to give out, and those grant recipients have also paid it forward as well. So I mean, yes, we started this, but we've got a great team around us that help push this forward. And so we call it the Parental Hope family for reasons, because those grant recipients are also giving back and paying it forward to future couples who may need that help.
We have some pictures of your twins kind of through the life cycle, and I love that, I remember talking to you when they were just little babies, and then as you see them grow, what I love about this is that you sort of said to me, you never really forget that journey when you see them, that it's such a miracle. And one of the things I think is so interesting is you said, because this is reproductive health, there's sort of a stigma with it. So what kind of things do you do, or what do you want us to know about sort of changing that? Because it's not like, hey, I woke up one day and I just decided I would have trouble getting pregnant, or what do you do to sort of work with that kind of work?
I think it's encouraging people to talk about it. I think the statistics are now that 1 in 6 couples deal with some level of infertility. I mean, obviously there's different levels of that, but odds are somebody that is going through it, and don't be afraid to talk about it. It's not a bad thing. It's a disease that affects those 1 in 6 couples, and it's a disease like any other disease. We don't shy away from talking about cancer or diabetes or whatever else there might be out there. Why should we shy away at talking about infertility?
It's interesting because you're right, we do, which is very interesting. Yeah, CBS did some stories recently and said, a lot of us are waiting to have families. That can influence that. And it's, something that you just always think will be there. And how would you know until you were at that point? Yeah. So do you have like support groups, or what do you do to sort of encourage families to talk about this?
Yeah, we have an online support group. I think it's comprised of about 3,500 people on Facebook. We did in-person support groups pre-COVID, and unfortunately COVID happened and then kind of shut that program down, and maybe in the future we can get that started going again here in the local area. But yeah, just the online support for anyone can join the support group, but then we also have a Facebook group just for our grant recipients. So we call it the Parental Hope Family Grant Recipient Support Group, and it's just for the couples that receive the grants. And hey, I'm cycling, what did you do different? Or hey, I could use someone to talk to, and then it's just a good support group. It's a way to meet people. Going through
that
it.
Understand.
Yes, that.
And as much as you want to, we say this with any illness, until it faces you, you really can't as much say, oh, my sister went through that. But when it's you, it's a totally different thing to feel.
It really is.
Yeah, it really is. All right, one more time, we want to put that golf tournament information up there. How do they reach out to you? Who can register? Do you have to be a good golfer?
No.
Oh gosh, no.
Just want to double check that.
We'll be there golfing with our twins, so we have a family foursome.
We do a family foursome.
That's a good idea. Yeah, so it is a family event.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. And you don't charge for these other support groups and services and things like that, right?
Nope.
Yeah. So if you can contribute, again, we'll put a link to that information at what'shappeninginhealth.com. We appreciate you just coming back.
Thank you so much.
Letting us share your story. It's
Appreciate
our pleasure.
it.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah.
And
Thank
how
you.
appropriate for you to be here on Mother's Day.
I know.
We just want to say that God works in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And it means a lot. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Thank you.
Great story, isn't it? Yeah. Good to have you.
Thank you.
All right, just ahead, yet another excuse to make guacamole. If you want to make that part of your Mother's Day meal, we'll tell you why in Gut Instinct. Stay with us.
This portion of What's Happening in Health is sponsored by Mount St. Joseph University, Elder Law Lawyers, and Advanced Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center.
So I want to leave you with a couple of headlines here before we go. Those vaccinated for shingles have a much lower risk of heart attack and stroke. Study in the European Heart Journal showed that the shingles vaccine provides a 23% lower risk of cardiovascular disease that lasts for up to 8 years. Shingles is linked to a variety of heart problems. And a growing number of Americans are suffering from depression. A study in JAMA found that while around 8% of people said that they were depressed in 2013, the number in 2023 is now 12%. The biggest reasons are a worsening economy, increased social isolation, and healthcare disruptions that started during the COVID-19 pandemic.
In You're So Vain today, usually we think of stair climbing to help your lungs, but the heart and vascular system may benefit as well. New study shows if you are paying attention to how many steps you take a day, you might want to make sure that about 50 of them are on a set of stairs. You need to climb at least 5 flights of stairs a day, believe it or not, which is, about 50 stairs, to slash your risk for cardiovascular disease by 20%. These are the stair climbings with the Lung Association, but according to the new study published in the Journal of Atherosclerosis, those stairs can make a difference. And finally today, gut instincts. If you want to improve your gut bacteria, you may want to make some really good guacamole this Mother's Day. We love guac here. You can make it fresh with avocado. You can cheat a little bit, by the way, and use salsa. I've done that before. But a recent study supported by the Avocado Nutrition Center evaluated the impact of daily avocado consumption for about 6 months on gut bacteria. It found that after studying 230 adults with abdominal obesity and comparing them to a control group, the avocado group showed higher gut diversity in those microbes, and diversity is linked to less obesity and inflammatory bowel disease. The fiber they think in those avocados so good for you. Glad to have you here today. Happy Mother's Day, everybody.